Hi, and you're very welcome to episode 3 of the Rugby Show here on finalwhistle.ie. My name is Breffney Early. You don't have to correct your sets. I'm not Luke Delaney. Unfortunately, Luke has, unfortunately, from our point of view, Luke has moved on to bigger and better things and won't be with us for the foreseeable future. So the best of luck to Luke in his new role in another company. But we are continuing the show. As they say, the show must go on. And I'm here with you this week. And I'm joined, as always, by Ciaron Noble. Ciaron, welcome back. You haven't deserted us yet.
Not just quite yet, but yeah, I'm delighted to be here. And obviously, Luke is a big loss, so it's a pity to see him move on. But yeah, always good to talk about rugby.
Absolutely. A big week in the AIL as well. We'll talk plenty about that over the next few weeks. But maybe let's bring in immediately next few minutes or so. We're here for the next 40, 45 minutes or so on the show. But first of all, maybe let's get started with a little in-depth look at some of the happenings in Division 1B and maybe a little peek inside Old Belvedere with their, I'm going to say former captain. He might correct me on that in a minute, Connor Owende. And we bring Connor to the show. Connor, how are you?
Hey guys, good, thanks. How's it going?
Excellent. You're very, very welcome to the show. I suppose disappointment this week, but overall a fairly positive start to life this year in Division 1B for Old Belvedere.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's been a good start to the season for us. I think we've had a change in coaching, so we've gotten in a new head coach in Ben Mannion, assisted by Carl Miller and Dean Lester as well. So we've been working very hard over the last couple of months, and we've had a good start to the pre-season, a couple of good wins in there against Old Crescent and Wesley, and we pushed Lance close in the cup. But yeah, a good pre-season and a good start to the AIL as well. Obviously winning our first game against Mary's, but like you say, disappointment away from home against Banbridge last weekend.
Ciaron, we'll alternate questions, sure.
Yeah, no, I wasn't really sure what we were doing there. But yeah, obviously, a lot of the under-20s have graduated now. The Dowlings, they're playing in the first, and that under-20s group did really well, the Macquarie Cup, all sorts of things. And isn't it really good to have loads of young lads coming through? And it means that good things are going to be happening in the club over the next few seasons, hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. You're dead right. It's always good to have a kind of good core group of under-20s who kind of graduate up to seniors, because that just means that the club has a core group of players who will be there around for hopefully the next, let's say, 5 to 10 years. Like I even remember myself when I played 20s, there was a group of us that made the transition to 20s and played in the senior team. I'm obviously still playing. Some of them have moved on, but yeah, that's great. The lads bring a lot of energy on and off the pitch.
That's what I was going to ask next, really. The 100 caps. You made 100 caps for Old Belvedere. So what does that feel like?
It was good. I mean, to be honest with you, the only thing I was worried about was actually losing the game. So once we won, I was happy. Like these things, they're always great, but you can only really celebrate them once you get the job done. So it was good to win against Mary's and great to celebrate. I had my family in the club, so it was great to celebrate the day with them, share that with them. And yeah, it was a great day and a good chance to kind of look back over the last few years.
Also managed to get on the score sheet. Not a bad, on a day like that, it's always nice to kind of contribute as well.
Yeah, that was good. I think, to be honest, I can thank Fionn McWay for that one. To be honest, we had a pick and go, and Fionn effectively slingshotted me over the line. So I can thank him for that.
They all count the exact same. Talk to us a bit about the club at the moment. As we said, 1 win, 1 loss so far. But what's the kind of the ambition for the year? What's the plan for the year going forward?
I think we're a very ambitious squad. To be honest, we definitely had a meeting a couple of weeks ago in the squad just to discuss our goals and our plans for the season going ahead. And like most squads in Division 1B, our goal is to get promoted, to be back in Division 1A. I think Old Belvedere is a club that belongs in Division 1A, so that's our goal, to get back up there. I think one thing we just need to sort out ourselves is just our away form. We are pretty good at home and we have a very good record there, but I think where we struggled in the last couple of years, and obviously in our second game this year, is just away from home. And kind of conceding early and stuff like that. So we're back on the training pitch looking to sort that out.
And the next question I was going to ask is Ben Mannion's obviously came in this year, Australian coach. He's been with Japan, the Junior Waratahs, Tonga, and he got Enniscorthy up to 2B last year. So what's it like having him at the helm now?
Well, firstly, it's a very impressive CV, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, well, Ben, I remember Ben came in a kind of consultancy capacity with us a couple of years back, so I did have an idea of who he was, but I actually didn't have any idea of the extent to his CV. But to be honest, I think he's come in and really made us work. To be honest, I know from the S&C side, we've been working very hard anyway, and also from the skills side as well. So even like when we're doing gym sessions and stuff like that, we're working on our skills. So we're working on the core skills of the game all the time: passing, catching, all that sort of stuff. So he wants us to be able to play from anywhere on the pitch, forward, backs, anything like that. So we're doing a hell of a lot of skill work.
So we'll be finding you out on the wing at some point, finishing off high-speed moves. Is that likely to be in your future?
Judging by the only try I've gotten this season, I think some things will stay the same.
Well, it's only week 2. It's fine. You've got 16 rounds left to go, plus maybe hopefully a few more from your point of view. In terms of, I suppose, the club and everything that's going on, obviously, is it disappointing to lose the game at the weekend? In terms of how much of a setback is that? Or is it just nice and early in the season, just getting into the flow of things?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, like, firstly, all credit to Banbridge. They were great on the day. I think we're lucky in the fact that it's the second game of the season. You know, if that was a game later in the season where we were pushing to make top 4 or win the league or something like that, we'd be much more disappointed. But thankfully, this lesson has come early, so it's a good chance for us to learn from that. I mean, like we were saying earlier, like we were 14-0 down, I think, after 10, 15 minutes. So it's just kind of shown us that you can't expect to win a game when you give yourself that bad a start. So it's a good lesson. I think we're lucky that we found it out early, and we just need to kind of learn from that.
I suppose the question I'd ask you is now, Justin Middleton, my good pal, always calls you a warrior because you've had some horrendous injuries over the last couple of seasons. Like, I think in round 1 last year against Naas, you had that problem with the ankle ligaments, and you were back in round 5, which came as such a surprise. Like, you've had your ups and downs, you know, with injuries and stuff, but how have you come back stronger?
I definitely have. I think a big part of that is just our medical team. Like, we have James Allen who does physio for Dublin, who's done Ireland, and a lot of other pro sports teams. So he knows exactly what he's doing. So anytime anyone really gets injured, you're working with James or Killian O'Neill, who's on our medical team as well. So we have a brilliant team there who are able to look after us, who have obviously been through the wars themselves. They know every sort of injury and every possibility that can happen. And also on the S&C side, previously was working with Owen Maguire and Aidan Chobin, and now Dean Lester. So it's just working with these people. You almost have to all you have to do is just show up, and they just tell you what to do, and it's just a matter of waiting. And I think, to be honest, as I've gotten a little bit older, that's the kind of thing that I've learned, is that you just have to be patient. I know when you're younger, you kind of want to get back on the pitch as fast as possible, and you're almost pushing the limits a little bit too much at times. But I've just found as I've gotten older, all you have to do is do what you're told, and it'll happen.
Luckily, as you get older, you get to deal with the other opponents of the same caliber. And of course, this weekend you face you face Naas in the 3rd round of the competition. They've signed some young lad from Tullow, I believe. Any dauntings of coming up against Sean O'Brien at the weekend?
No. To be honest with you, I think it's brilliant for the league, isn't it? Like, it'll be great for us. Like, we have a pre-match lunch on Saturday, just honouring Jack Conan and his achievements for the Lions. So there'll be big numbers in for that, but I suspect there'll be even bigger numbers if Sean O'Brien's playing. And I guess for us as players, it's a chance to test yourself against a player who's one of Ireland's and one of rugby's probably best back rows. You know, so it'll be great for us to test ourselves against them and against obviously a good Naas side who will be hurting from losing 2 games at the start of the season. So yeah, hopefully he togs out.
Do you expect a big reaction from Johnny Murphy's team, like considering that you just said they've lost their opening 2 games and they were runners up last season? Do you expect a big reaction from them on Saturday?
Yeah, big time. Like in the same way we lost over the weekend, so we'll be looking for a reaction from ourselves. They'll definitely be looking for a reaction, and they'll have no, they won't lack any confidence having beaten us. I think it was 53-0 or something like that in the last game of last year's AIL. So they'll come to Ollie Campbell Park with no fear, and we'll meet them head on.
In terms of, just to bring it back to the likes of Sean O'Brien, not specifically him, but players of that caliber coming back and coming into the league, we all saw the debate over whether he should be allowed to go back and play for Tullow. I'm guessing that's a case of Hart winning out over Head in terms of where he wanted to end up. Do you think it's the right decision not to let him back into junior ranks? Or should he? Is it good for the league to have players that caliber come back in when they're finished their professional careers?
To be honest, I can see the intention with the IRFU. Like obviously, from a pure physical perspective, Sean O'Brien finished playing professional rugby last year, and at junior rugby, you'll be coming up against players who don't do the same level of strength and conditioning, who don't have the same, let's say, profile as Sean. So from a safety perspective, I think it probably was the right move. Now, obviously, in a couple of years, it would obviously be a dream for Sean to finish playing in Tullow, and that would be great to see. And I think actually, it just separately, it should be commended the fact that he actually does want to play for Tullow. It's a great thing to see, and you'd wish more players kind of go back to their club roots as well. But obviously, it's unfortunate that just from a safety perspective, I don't think it works right now, but I think it's something that could work in the future. And so obviously that lends itself to Sean playing in higher divisions like 1B, 1A, or that sort of thing. So we're definitely delighted that we have a chance to take him on over the weekend.
But that's the good thing, I suppose, because there's always this debate around the AIL and how important it is. And with somebody like Sean O'Brien coming back to play in the AIL, it kind of shows that, you know, it's still a big thing. It might not be professional, but it's as close as, and it's a great advertisement for the AIL as well.
Yeah, big time. Like every week, to be honest, like even I always think back over the past kind of couple of years, like the AIL has such a high standard of players. Like a couple of years ago, I know when we were in 1A, sorry, we were playing against the likes of Ty Byrne and Joey Carby, who are now kind of established Irish professionals. And I'm sure there's players that I'm playing with and playing against now who will be playing for Ireland in a few years.
Yeah, speaking of players with, we're a Leitrim company. We're based here in Carrick-on-Shannon, and of course there's not that many Leitrim sports people on the scene, but there's one definitely in Old Belvedere, Jack Gilheeney. I'm not sure if he's still with you, but has been involved in the past. Can you give us any dirt on Jack that we can share here around the county?
Definitely nothing I can say publicly anyway, but Jack's a great player. Unfortunately, I think he has made the decision to move on. I think he's heavily involved in Leitrim GAA, but we do have Adam Reynolds as well, who's from Leitrim as well. So he'll be coming back to us. I think he's just finishing off the county championship season. So there's a bit more of Leitrim representatives in Old Belvedere.
Yeah, I don't want to cast stereotypes, but I can literally see Adam Reynolds' house from where I'm sitting. So it's a pretty small place. There's not that many of us. But listen, Connor, the very, very best of luck to you at the weekend. It's an absolute pleasure to have had you on the show for the last 15 minutes or so. Best of luck about Naas. I hope you win that first tackle against Sean O'Brien. And I'm sure we'll be chatting to you and your teammates through the rest of the year. Thanks a million for joining us.
Cheers, Connor.
Thanks very much, lads. Appreciate it.
Connor Owende there, absolute cracking lad, isn't he, Ciaron?
I was so lucky last year to be in the position to commentate with Justin, and like he's just some player. He gives it 100%, and I think the way he came back from those injuries just shows the type of guy he is, and they're the type of guys that you want on your team.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of, maybe let's take a look at some of the results from last weekend. We start, I suppose, in Division 1A, the top division of the AIL. The results across the bottom of the screen there. Young Munster 19, Garryowen 23, Ballynahinch 41, Shannon 8, Terenure College 47, Cork Con 12, Dublin University Trinity College 38, UCD 24 in the colours match, and Clontarf 27, Lansdowne 19. Anything there catch your fancy in terms of, obviously the colours game always comes in for a bit of attention?
Yeah, well, I just have to correct you. It was actually 26-23 to Young Munster, that Garryowen game. So, yeah.
The researcher's sacked. It's fine.
Yeah,
It's fine.
yeah. But, yeah, no, I was actually at the Terenure game against Cork Con, and they were 47-0 up at half-time. And, I mean, this isn't over-exaggerating, but Cork Con, if you've heard about them over the years, they're one of the most feared teams in the AIL. And when they were losing 47-0, people in Terenure, there was some atmosphere in the place. There always is in Lakelands. But they were turning around looking at the scoreboard in pure disbelief. They couldn't believe that they were 47-0 up against Cork Con. And it was just remarkable. Like, it's showing how good Terenure actually are. In the last few weeks, I've said to Luke that I think Terenure are the favourites, and I really think they can go on and win the AIL this year. And that performance that I seen on Saturday only made me more sure about it, to be honest. I know you have Clontarf, who are excellent as well. They had a really good win against Lansdowne at home, 27-19. One of the young players I've watched in Wicklow in recent years, Noah Sheridan, made his debut. I really think he could be on the Irish under-20s this year, so a player to watch out for. But Clontarf look very good. I still think with Clontarf, they haven't hit top gear yet. Even though they've won their first two games, I think there's more to come from them. Moving on to Lansdowne then, they have losing their first two games. That is not what they would have wanted, to be honest. And they'll really put a lot into this Trinity game on Saturday because they have to, because it's a 3 block of fixtures. So there's a break after this. So they don't want to be heading into the break with 3 defeats. They need to win this game on Saturday, and it's going to be ultra important for them. They play a Trinity team who are also 2 from 2. They join Terenure, Clontarf and Ballynahinch in that respect. But Trinity, they throw it around and they play such exciting rugby, a bit like Terenure. And something that Trinity have been criticised of in the past is they're maybe not the most physical team, but I think some of the lads they have now, like Max Dunn, Paddy McCarthy from Blackrock College, he won the Senior Cup last year. He's a great addition for them. So, yeah, I think Trinity look really good, but Lansdowne have to win. Their backs are up against the wall, and I think it'll be a really interesting affair. The other big game next week is Ballynahinch against Clontarf. Ballynahinch, I was reading today, I think it was minus 30 something their points total was this time last year, and now they're plus 30 something. So that just tells a story in itself. They're like polar opposite to what they were last year. They're very much improved, but this is the acid test in my opinion. If they can go and beat Clontarf at home, this really shows they're for real, and they can really push on for top 4 this year. So it's a really big game for them. I still would favour Clontarf a little bit, but yeah, that's really interesting. UCD Young Munster is also on. Really important game, or big game for UCD, because I think they've probably been the most unlucky team in the AIL so far. Their 2 performances that they've had against Clontarf and Trinity, there's been plenty of positives. So I'd expect them to go and beat Young Munster in the game at the weekend. And actually, a Munster team hasn't beaten a Dublin team yet this year, which is a bit worrying for the Munster clubs, because for years they had a bit of a stronghold over the AIL and they were the most feared team. So now it looks like the Dublin clubs are really taking over, and it goes back to that debate, I suppose, all the colleges up in Dublin and the population. Maybe it's the time for the Dublin clubs, and I really do think the top 4 will be all Dublin clubs this year. So
that's a bold statement. That's a very bold statement.
I do think it will be, though. I think Lansdowne or Clontarf will definitely be there. Terenure will definitely be there. Trinity, the way they're going, they could be there. The only team, Ballynahinch, if they keep going, they're from Ulster, so they could be the difference. But I can't see any Munster team at the minute making it.
Well, I was going to say we take a quick look at the league table and just see where people are at the moment on that table. If it comes up on screen, we see Terenure College, as you mentioned, Trinity and Ballynahinch all on the top, but of course Clontarf 2 wins as well, just missing the double bonus points that the others have managed to get over the first 2 rounds of the competition. And Shannon at the bottom, getting used to life in the top division, but it's a bit of a struggle. Minus 69 points. We talked about Ballinhinch a minute ago having a negative goal or points difference. That's a pretty rough start to life in the top division for Shannon. But we had Shannon on the first show of the season, and I think we might see them grow into this league. Can they survive in the top? I know we're only 2 games in, but do you think they've got the strength to survive in the top division?
Yeah, it's just been a bit of a baptism of fire for them so far. Like, it's just been difficult. But I do think like the players that they have in the squad have been in AIL 1A before, so they know what it's like. I just think it's about acclimatizing yourself, and I think they will eventually get there. We might not see results until maybe round 5, round 4, but I think eventually they will get there. And who knows, they're playing a Cork Con team, as I said earlier, that were badly beaten 47-12, and they would have taken a big knock from that. And how's that going to affect them? Could Shannon, could that be good for Shannon, or could it be bad? You could get a big reaction out of Cork Con, or maybe Shannon could jump on it and they could get a win. So that's another interesting game. 2 teams that really need a win just for confidence. So, I think Shannon will eventually get there. Do I know if they're going to beat relegation at this moment in time? I don't really know. It's round 7, round 8. I'll be able to tell you more what I think they're going to be like, but I wouldn't read too much into it at this early stage for them.
It is very, very early days in Division 1A. Very early days in all the divisions. Let's move on to 1B. Take a quick look at some of the games that were played in that grade this particular week. UCC 15, City of Armagh 14. Buccaneers with a big win, 35-7 over Old Wesley. Naas beaten by 2 points, 22-24. Highfield, Banbridge 14, Old Belvedere 13, and St. Mary's College 41, Malone 27. We've spent a bit of time talking about Old Belvo. Any other games? I think the Naas game, pretty tight there, 2-point defeat for them.
Yeah, I think Johnny Murphy would have been disappointed by that. He would have definitely put the lads through their paces in training last week after that big defeat to Old Wesley in round 1. But I think Highfield will be definitely up there. Getting a win like that in Naas is massive at the start of the season. The game that really caught my eye, though, was Buccaneers, Old Wesley. Buccaneers came up last year from 2A. And, to win like that against Old Wesley, who were actually top of the table by a good bit after coming into the playoffs. So for Buccaneers to get a win like that, it's massive for them, and a bit worrying for Old Wesley, who I heard struggled a bit in the preseason, and then they've lost a couple of players to Clontarf this year as well. So, yeah, I think Buccaneers could be a surprise package this year. They've obviously got Eddie at the helm, former Irish coach, but they head to Highfield this weekend, I think it is, and that'll be a tough game. It'll be interesting to see, can they do it on the road? And they're not only on the road, but they're playing one of the best teams in the league in Highfield. So it'll be interesting to see if they can back it up.
Yeah, I did see Buccaneers in the Connacht Senior League just before the start of the AL season, and they actually struggled to get past Sligo. They did in the end, a last-minute try, 2 tries in the last 4 minutes, gave them a 2 or 3 point victory. They turned it around pretty well in the last few minutes of the game, but they really struggled in long patches to get that victory, and I didn't expect much off them in 1B, so pleasantly surprised to see them kind of doing so well in that division. Really, really good. You're going to go on there to another game?
Yeah, I what was I going to go on to now? St. Mary's and Malone. I think St. Mary's have got their big victory, 41-27, I think it was. I'd be worried for Malone at this stage, to be honest. If I was put money on a team that might struggle for the entire season and will be involved in a relegation scrap, it's probably going to be Malone, in my opinion. Mary's would be happy to get a first win for Sean Cronin, another former Irish player. He'll love playing against Sean O'Brien when he plays Naas. It'll be good, the two Irish boys. But it's actually a league full of former internationals, if you count Eddie, the former Irish coach, as well. So there's plenty of it going on. But yeah, great win for St. Mary's. They could be a team that could challenge for top 4 this year. They finished 5th last year, only missing out in the top 4 by 2 or 3 points, I think. So yeah, that was a good performance by them. And then City of Armagh were actually 14-3 up at half-time against UCC last week, I think. And UCC ended up winning by a point. So, they had to really dog it out there. Michael Bradley would be happy with that. UCC looks strong. You kind of knew they were going to be strong, though, coming down from 1A. So they look like one of the stronger teams. But City of Armagh, I've said it before, they could be dark horses, only losing by a point. That's, they'll be disappointed that they blew the lead, but there's a lot of positives for them. And I think, I always say this, but 1B is so unpredictable. The AIL in general is unpredictable, but 1B in particular, I genuinely don't know what's going to happen week in, week out. Anything can happen. So it's very hard to kind of say who you think is going to be good, who you think is going to be bad. I genuinely think it's going to be a bunched up table come the end of the season where a few points are going to separate all the teams. There might be one team out in front or two teams out in front, maybe a UCC and a Highfield, Cork dominance maybe. But I think the whole table will be kind of close together.
Yeah, it's interesting times ahead. Maybe let's take a look at that table in Division 1B. Now, UCC, as you mentioned, top of the table, just ahead of Highfield, St. Mary's College, just touching distance behind them in the table. How important are those bonus points going to come in towards the end of the season, Ciaron?
They definitely are important, because when you're focused on avoiding relegation or making the top four, every 2 points, even teams sometimes they lose and they get a losing bonus point and the try bonus point, so they get 2 for losing a game, which is massive. You obviously don't want to lose, but the losing bonus points, if you can get them, it's about it is good. It is what it says, a bonus.
It's literally a bonus.
Yeah. You know what I mean. So it's really important. Every point counts. I know it's cliche and people say that in all sports, but genuinely in 1B, whatever points you can get, take them. So.
Yeah, moving on to 2A, and we're dropping out of the top divisions into 2A in the competition. The fixtures there, or the results, should I say, the Blackrock College promoted from 2B last year, 35-8 winners against Dolphin, Ballymena 20, Navan 14, Nina Ormond 22, MU Barnhall 25, Queen's University 36, Old Crescent 24, Cashel 32, UL Bowes 9. The one that stands out to me there is the Queen's result, because they obviously ran away with this division in the regulation 18 games last year and failed to go up. They'll be very disappointed to be back in this division again this year, but they seem to have come out fighting with the intention of maybe going one better this year and making sure they don't slip up again.
Yeah, well, I've said it in previous weeks. Sometimes it's hard when you get so close like that, because you don't know how it's going to affect the team. Old Wesley are in a similar enough position in 1B. You don't know if they're going to come out and they're going to be hungrier than ever and chase it up again, or maybe there's a bit of a hangover and they just struggle to get up again. But they look strong. They look really strong again, which is good for them. Yeah, I'd say Queens will be up there. And last year, I think it was heartbreaking for them, to be fair. But I know they'll be very focused on getting back up to 1B.
How much of an effect, I'm going off on a bit of a tangent now, but how much of an effect is that the year of no promotion relegation in 2020 when COVID happened, and then again, the clubs haven't really moved before this season for 2 or 3 years, and clubs maybe who were in really good positions to compete in divisions have either lost players have moved on, the opportunity might have passed. The sliding doors moments in the last 2 years for clubs who survived in divisions maybe they weren't strong enough for, that they're now competing in. How important was to take advantage of that over the last few years?
Yeah, definitely. 2 clubs that come to mind, as I said, were Old Wesley. You look, they had, first Old Wesley, they had Ben Murphy, who's gone to Clontarf now. He was on the Emerging Ireland tour, and then JJOD, who got 1B Player of the Year last year. And a part of me thinks if Wesley had secured that promotion to 1A, maybe those lads would have stayed, because they want to play in 1A. They might have very well stayed. I don't know that for sure, but if Old Wesley were in the top league and they enjoyed being in the club, I'm pretty sure they would have stayed. But for somebody like Ben Murphy, especially, who has bigger aspirations to play for Leinster more regularly and maybe one day play for the Irish senior team, he has to be playing 1A. He doesn't really have a choice. So in that case, Old Wesley have to be in 1A to attract the right type of player, if you know what I mean. The guys, in the Leinster setups and so forth. And then Greystones, I know it's 2B, but they feel like, I was talking to someone there a couple of weeks ago, and they were heartbroken because they tried so hard all season, finished top, were comfortable enough at top in the end. And they were like, in a regular season, we would have been up, and there would have been none of this final heartbreak or semi-final heartbreak, or and for them, it's gutting, because you know, 1A and 1B is a bit different, but in the lower divisions, you really don't know who you're going to have sometimes on a yearly basis. So it could just be one good season or that gets you up. And for Greystones, I do think they've started positively them in a massive way, but I know it would have done a lot for the club if they had went up last year. And I think it is tough for clubs. I know like it couldn't have been helped. Like nobody predicted COVID, and COVID kind of threw everything in disarray, and you know they didn't really know how to do the league last year. But I do think it did affect some clubs, Queens as well. We just talked about them. Enniscorthy, the first year they were up, I think they finished top, but then COVID hit and they didn't get up, but they ended up getting up anyway. But Scaries are another team that could have went up during those COVID times. So yeah, it's affected a few clubs, like, and it's tough, like, because sometimes you don't know if the ship has sailed for them or they can go again, and it really just depends on the year, like, and a bit of luck too, like a lot of luck, I think, in 1B especially.
Any games in Division 2A catch your fancy to keep an eye on this week?
I suppose, I don't know. It's hard to say, really. I haven't.
Sorry,
really
I put you on the spot there a little bit.
Yeah.
No, but in terms of, I suppose, maybe obviously the teams that we mentioned, the Queen's University, they probably look like they're going to be a good side to watch in general this year.
No, I would. Yeah, definitely. If I was up near the north somewhere, they're a team that I definitely watch, because you obviously have a lot of some of the north teams that are in 1A, you've got Ballyhinch in 1A, and then you've got more teams 2B as well. Belfast Harlequins play really good rugby. So I'd love to watch Queens someday, but unfortunately, transport is a bit of an issue, so I won't be in Belfast anytime soon to watch them, unfortunately.
Well, I'm sure they'll come to a town near you sometime soon. Let's take a quick look at the league table in 2A. And Queens, as you mentioned, top of the table, clear at the top of the table. 2 wins, 2 bonus points, 10 points, maximum 10 out of 10 for the students. Nina Ormond and Cashel and MU Barnhall, also students down there. Not quite up to the grades of Queens just yet, but I'm sure there's plenty of time in the season. Barnhall and Maynooth University will be well able to cope with them at the bottom. The other students in the group, UL Bows, still pointless. They'll be disappointed with the start to their season, but plenty of time left to go in that. All the tables there, as you can see them. And moving on to 2B, this one is of personal interest to me. I'm a bit of a Sligo fan, I'm not going to lie. We had Paddy Pearson on the show, at least yourself and Luke had Paddy Pearson on the show last week. In terms of the results this week, obviously we'll go through them quickly there as they come up underneath. Greystones 15-16 versus Dungannon, and Galway Corinthians had a big derby win against Galwegians 58-21, while Wanderers beat Enniscorthy 38-22. I missed the first one too as they came along there. We'll get them in a minute. I know Sligo had a decent victory as well at the weekend. So plenty of excitement in this division as well. Your thoughts on how it went?
Yeah, it's really, I always love 2B, to be fair. It's always really exciting. Enniscorthy, I feel a bit bad for them. I kind of had high hopes for them this year in 2B, but it hasn't really happened yet. And then obviously losing their coach to Old Belvedere, they probably wouldn't have wanted that. If you, as Connor said, when you read his CV, like to have a guy like that, like it's a massive bit.
Can you say no to that though? When you've come up from the bottom division of 5 and all of a sudden there's a team in 1B looking for your services, it's very difficult to turn that down.
Yeah, well, it's amazing how he, like, because coach of his CV, it's amazing that they got him in 2C anyway. Like it was a real bonus for them at the time. But yeah, look, I think Enniscorthy though, I think they'll be all right in 2B. It just hasn't really clicked for them yet. And then the other worrying thing is Galwegians, because I know they struggled last year, but I think from what I heard, they were a bit more optimistic this year. But from the first 2 results, and especially that derby result against Corinthians at the weekend, it's really worrying for them. And they were a team that my uncle actually played for them back in the day, and I'm pretty sure they were 1A once upon a time. So to be on the decline they're on is pretty worrying, and it's sad to see,
Yeah, absolutely. Those 2 other scores, of course, were Rainy Old Boys 25-22 winners. I think I saw that flashed up a second ago on the bottom of the screen. We might just wait for a second for them to come back around. But Sligo, of course, beating Malahide 18-11. at home in Hamilton Park on Saturday afternoon. Rainy Old Boys were beaten actually 21-25 by Belfast Harlequins. You mentioned Belfast is one to watch. Of course, they had a big win against Sligo in the opening day of the season. So if we take a quick look at the table in Division 2B, Galway Corinthians, after that big derby victory, they go top of the table, just ahead of Harlequins and Greystones in this division. Enniscorthy and Galwegians, as you mentioned, for both of the reasons we talked about, losing the coach obviously been an impact on Enniscorthy and Galwegians. Not quite sure what's gone wrong there, but it's been a rough couple of seasons for the Galway people in this particular division. But they do top the table and bottom of the table, the two Galway sides in the Division 2B. Moving on to 2C. We have keep my eye on the fixtures a little bit earlier this time if we get the results along the bottom of the table. Bangor 26, Ballina 32. They were relegated from 2B last year. Good win for them. Skerry 7, Instonians, New Boys 43, Middleton 3, Sundays Well 33. All Cork are fair there. While Omagh Academicals 13, Clonmel 24. Good results for the Tipperary men. And Bruff 26, Tullamore 50. That's some victory for Tullamore in that particular game in Bruff.
Yeah, no, Tullamore are definitely one of the stronger sides in 2C. I definitely think they'll be in the top 4 coming the end of the season. But the big one for me is Inistonians beating Skerries. Skerries got into the, people forget, Skerries got into the 2C final a couple of months ago. They were in it against Enniscorthy. And they're playing against a team that were playing junior rugby a couple of months ago. So it's massive, It does show, it goes back to that junior rugby and senior rugby debate you were even having earlier on, Is there really a big gap? Is it as big as what people think? I don't know. I definitely think there is a gap between someone like Sean O'Brien going down, for example. But I think I've always said this. I don't think there's a massive gap in AIL 2B and Leinster League 1A, 1B or the other junior leagues. I think this has proven it, to be honest. I know Instonians came from Ulster, they're a Monaghan club, I think. But I think, it's showing that there isn't a massive gap, and I wouldn't be surprised if they go up again.
Well, a lot of teams do that exact what you just talked about. They come into the league and they kind of build on that momentum because it's very difficult to get out of the junior grades into the AIL in the first place. So you really have to be a really good side to get into that division. And then you've kind of got the momentum that just brings you on and pushes you on to results like we saw last weekend.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The leagues are really competitive. I know from Leinster League 1A, I think it was really close to the top between Bective Rangers and Monkstown, and Bective Rangers just pipped them and they won the league, and obviously you're delighted you won the league or whatever. But then you go into the round robin and you have to play the other 3 provincial champions in junior rugby, and then Bective won the semi-final, and then they came up against Instonians, who were a really good team on the day, and they beat them by a few points. But it's tough for a team like Bective who have been competing in the Leinster League all year, and they just about finished top, and then your next focus is on the AIL. It is tough. I heard someone say someone said it to me, I think they were from Enniscorthy at the time, winning the league's all right, but it's about getting out. Getting out is the tough thing. You win the league and you think you're great and all, but if you can't back it up and get out and get into the AIL, it's kind of you kind of feel like you've wasted a little bit, or it's not worth it, and it's tough, So I think, it's to get up from junior rugby is probably the harder jump almost.
Absolutely. And I think the rest of the provinces, listening to a boy from Leinster saying it's tough to get out of the Leinster League, I think they'll argue it's tough to get out of their leagues as well across the country. Taking a quick look at the league table in Division 2C, the final men's league of the evening. We see that, if it pops up here on the screen, 2C. No table just yet. We should be able to get it up here now. 1 second. No, actually, we don't have a table for 2C. We'll come back to that one in just a couple of moments. We will get a table for 2C up there. Here, 1 second. Here we go. Sorry, but folks, the joys of doing a live broadcast. Here is 2C, and that is Instonians at top of the table. As we said, the New Boys in the division, Bangor, and a little bit further back to Omagh Academicals. And at the bottom, it's Sundays Well, who are in danger of dropping out of that grade. But it's very, very early days yet. More worried, I think, probably would be where Ballina find themselves, having dropped down from 2B last year. You would be hoping that they would actually have pushed on and rebuilt a little bit, but they seem to be in a bit of a free fall at the moment, Ciaron.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say before you said it, actually. I didn't realise they were sitting second last. But it goes back to what you were talking about there a second ago. sometimes when you go up a division, it can kind of excel you on to keep going, and sometimes when you can come down, it can have the opposite effect. Maybe the atmosphere in the club is a bit edgy this year. Maybe their confidence is low. Maybe they've lost a few guys. You don't know. So, yeah, confidence is a funny thing, especially in sport.
Yeah, absolutely. We have had a couple of comments in from some listeners. We've got Tony P. Quinn who says, "Yup, Sligo." I'm not going to claim credit for that one. In terms of the final division of the AIL that we want to look at tonight, of course, is the women's division, and only the one game last weekend that was the weekend before. Apologies. There was a full round of games last week. Wicklow and Ballincollig played out a 10-all draw. Blackrock College 36, Galwegians 19. Old Belvedere with a 65-0 win at Cook, while Railway Union had a big win over Suttonian 78-5. I think that's the one that probably surprised me the most. I was expecting maybe Suttonians to kick on a little bit from what they did last year. Railway Union, obviously, formidable opponents at this level. And with the Sevens players back in action last week as well, it was always going to be a tough task, but it's still a huge margin of victory in any rugby game.
Yeah, no, because you're right in what you say. Like, Suttonians were the best of the rest, I suppose you can call them. Last year, they finished the kind of B competition that they have for the other 6 teams. They won that, and they won it. They looked good at winning it. Like, so you'd expect them to be closer to the top 4. But I think at the minute, and I said it last week, I think with Luke, Old Belvedere look really good this year. Like, some of the young girls they've got, like Dana O'Brien, Katie Whelan, like, they're fantastic. Really, really good. And then Railway have been the best for years. So I think those 2 teams are already kind of, they've set their stall out and they're kind of just looking really, really good. Suttonians will be disappointed. But Ballincollig getting that
it was my next question.
Yeah. Getting that, draw after a few tough results, like, brilliant for them. And I'm a big fan of Fiona Hayes. I think she's a fantastic person and a fantastic coach. And I was really happy for her. Obviously, a part of me being a Wicklow man was disappointed for the Wicklow girls, but it's really good because I don't like to see that, the big results, big defeats for anyone. It doesn't reflect well on the league, and it can sometimes be disheartening for players who train twice, sometimes 3 times a week, So I think the closer games are much better, but I still think there is a gap there, obviously, between the best teams and the rest, but I do think it's slowly getting smaller.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that will win, and I think the nature of the win as well. It wasn't just a kind of they grabbed a draw from a potential defeat. They were leading through the game, and it was Wicklow who had to come back, who would have been favourites going into that clash based on form and over the last maybe year or so, even for Ballincollig to be kind of in a controlling position in that game at stages is a really good push on from them. And can we see more of that from the teams on the bottom in terms of, as the girls get experience, as they get more exposure to elite level rugby, that they will actually push on and compete maybe at a higher standard than we've seen over the last 12 months?
Yeah, for sure, definitely. Like, even you saying there that Wicklow were favourites against Ballincollig, last year they probably would have been even because they were both the 2 teams coming up. But because Wicklow have had some positive results, nearly beating UL Bows in Ashtown Lane a couple of weeks ago, I think shocked a lot of people. I know they still lost, but I think they only lost by 3 points, maybe 4 points. And that was a result that last year they probably lost by 50 points. So I think that shows that Wicklow have come a long way in terms of, development, and, the girls have really bought into the training. They've really believed in themselves. The likes of Ella have stuck around, Vicky as well. Lucy Mulhall is in and out as well. Like, you have all those girls, and it's not just to talk about Wicklow, but it's a sign for other clubs. Like, even if things aren't going well at the time, if you build on it, you get good numbers at training, you work on what you need to work on, anything is possible. Like, I still think I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Like, they're still a long way off the likes of Railway and Old Belvedere at the minute, but that's just the way it is. But you want to see the rest of them competitive. Like, it's an awful shame what happened to Malone, the way they had to pull out 2 days before the season started. You don't want to see that. And it'll be interesting to see for next season, what are they going to do? Are they going to keep it as a 9-team league? Are they going to bring up another team? And what way are they going to do it? Like, I do think you have to think about these things and, maybe put better plans in place. But I do think it is good for the girls to have competitive games, because I know everyone loves winning, but at the same time, you don't want one team that dominates all the time, because then it does affect the national side of things as well. Then when you call girls into squads, some girls are used to hammering teams and other girls aren't used to winning and all that sort of stuff. So I think having a better system in place will only benefit everyone.
Absolutely. Well, I couldn't agree with you more. But listen, that's all we have time for this week. Nice and tight 45-minute show for you this week. Thank you so much to Connor Owende for joining us earlier in the show, to Ciaron Noble for joining me. As you see, I'm not Luke. You don't need to adjust your sets if you've arrived this late. Luke, fortunately for Luke, has moved on to a new opportunity with another media outlet. We wish him the very, very best of luck and thank him for all the help he gave us in the last half season or so, and the last year he's been working with finalwhistle.ie. From me, Breffney Early, and from the whole team here at Final Whistle, and to our producer Sean Comer, thank you very much for joining us this evening. We'll chat to you again next week.